find out what is in it.
How can the Republican majority in this Congress explain to their constituents that trillions of dollars of new debt is good for our economy?
I first learned about the tactics and the phrase Operation Fast and Furious at the beginning of this year.
Good afternoon, everybody. This is Jeff Wagner, the conservative voice on the Conservative Radio Network here on Spreaker.com. Logic over emotion, fact over fiction, the home of independent conservative thought. Scandals, scandals, scandals. The Obama administration up to their eyeballs and over in scandals. Not exactly a shock to me, this Chicago politician, but those on the left are still fiercely defending this administration and saying that these scandals are all trumped up and fiction coming from the extreme right, even though the proof is right before their very eyes. I tell you, even some on the left knew what Barack Obama was capable of and what he wasn't capable of. Looking back to the first election when Hillary and Barack were at each other's throats. I know you've probably all heard many times Hillary's comments about shame on you, Barack Obama. No doubt this president will do anything and everything to advance his agenda. And by the end of this program, if you don't believe that he is marching us down the road to socialism and you think I'm a nut for saying that, I may just change your mind, unless, of course, you are the typical radical left-wing one or two agenda item progressive socialist. Yeah, that would be you. First off, let's take a listen to what Susan Rice had to say. Very short clip, 10-second clip. This is from NBC. This is, I believe, this is when Susan Rice was Obama's foreign policy advisor. And just take a listen to this, and with reference to the incident in Benghazi and the 4 dead Americans there.
Clinton hasn't had to answer the phone at 3 o'clock in the morning, and yet she attacked Barack Obama for not being ready. They're both not ready to have that 3 a.m. phone call.
Couldn't have said that better myself. They're both not ready to have that 3 a.m. phone call. I think that obviously that's been proven. Now, again, as I mentioned up top, sorry about that. Several people on the left, basically claiming that the right is trumping this up. They point to George Bush. They say, like they always do, I mean, George Bush is responsible for everything. If you notice, that you have weeds growing in your lawn, it probably was George Bush's fault. But they point to George Bush and they say, well, under the Bush administration, several people died. Some say 61. That includes non-Americans. Others have different counts. Depends on who you ask. They say that there's only one hearing and all of the events that took place when George Bush was president. What they neglect to tell you is that when George Bush was president, the wars were responsible for most of these 90+% of these attacks, and you don't have the same situation with George Bush as you do here. I mean, nobody was saying that it was Obama's fault. Nobody is saying that it's Obama's fault that terrorists made an attempted attack on 9/11, go figure, on Benghazi. What people are saying is that the administration is at best incompetent and at worst corrupt because of their cover-up of why it was as severe as it was, why the outcome was what it was. If you remember, the Obama administration was pushing all the way to the Democratic National Convention that GM is alive, bin Laden is dead, Al-Qaeda is back on its heels, decimated. They could not tolerate this being linked to terrorism and Al-Qaeda, or it would negate their campaign, their primary campaign issue. Other than, of course, taking God out of their platform and providing, free birth control, which is critically important to everybody, I'm sure. So there you have it. I mean, the comparison between Bush and Obama is a ridiculous one. This country and its embassies and interests have been under attack for decades. Nobody blames Obama for that. But again, after the event, to find out that, we knew ahead of time that this attack was going to happen, to find out that, or to know that the British had left, that we were the only ones there, that Hillary wanted to use this consulate as a model of normalcy and declare it a personal victory, no doubt heading into 2016. The fact that this consulate was attacked on more than one occasion, and that in April it had a hole big enough for people to run right on through, and the security requests were not only denied, but that security was actually reduced. The fact that there were people ready to respond in Tripoli on the runway, and they were told to stand down. The fact that we had a Delta team, that we had a special unit, another special unit that acts as the immediate response, as a buffer between the time of the event and the time Delta team can come in. And I believe that was Charlie 10 is what that's called. That they were within 2 hours and 4 hours, respectively. That there were several other teams, at least a half a dozen, according to some Navy SEALs and Army Rangers who are outspoken about this issue, this event. And the fact that this administration, like it does with everything else, covers up, diverts, lies about what the facts are, draws it out, then turns around and says that the Republicans are making a political issue out of this. Well, it is a political issue because the American people have a right to know what happened. We have a right to know why. The president first heard of this at 5 p.m. or shortly thereafter. Never made contact again that evening, went to bed, and then flew off to Las Vegas. We have a right to know why our commander-in-chief, and I almost choke on that, was asleep at the wheel, literally, when that 3 a.m. phone call came in. We have a right to know why those security requests were denied. So between Carney saying that it was so long ago, trying to minimize it and act as if all the questions have been answered, and Hillary saying, what difference does it make when we have 4 dead bodies on the field because they weren't given the adequate protection that they deserved? And that, my friends, is the direct comparison between Obama and Bush. Yes, there were casualties. They were casualties of war in Bush's case, and they are in this case. However, the casualties of war in Bush's case were well secured. You don't have a record of those things of security being denied. You don't have a record of cover-up. This president does nothing but cover up, frequently pointing to people down the ladder, down the chain, as if the American people are stupid. And unless you're one of his sheep, you aren't stupid. This president, whether it's the IRS scandal whether it's the press scandal, the DOJ, whether it's Fast and Furious, which everyone seems to forget. This president diverts attention, blames those under him, and pretends he doesn't know anything. I don't know. I didn't know. I was unaware. Furthermore, he lies. He lied to get elected when he said, I said in the Rose Garden that it was a terrorist attack. No, you did not. And then you act all condescending and like you're put out by Romney questioning you. And now we find out that you didn't even care to follow up on it. And now we're being told it's not important what you did do that evening. What a joke. What a pathetic, sad, incompetent joke. The left will also jump on you and say, well, what about Bush and Fast and Furious? He started that. No, he did not start Fast and Furious. He did start an operation in which every weapon was traced. It did not lead to people dying. Or, I don't know, are all you liberals of the same opinion as your congressman where death is just a fact of life? Bush's operation, again, traced every weapon. We didn't lose 1,800 plus weapons. They were not the same. If you've listened to the testimony, which I doubt you have, or if you have, it's been selective listening, you would know that. But you just can't resist blaming Bush. You just can't resist deflecting for the incompetency of the God that you proclaim, Barack Hussein Obama, and try to put it back on, attention back on Bush. Well, it's not going to work. I think that perhaps one of the best commentaries I've heard on the scandals, and particularly Benghazi, came from Judge Jeanine Pirro on her show. And I'm going to play that for you if you haven't heard it. She's very direct and very correct.
I grew up in small-town America. As a kid, I worked in a dairy. My father and grandfather both fought in World War II. There were a lot of constants in my life, things I could rely on. Church on Sundays, the Pledge of Allegiance at school, the love and support of mom and dad, and the fact that I lived in the greatest country in the world where every day dreams come true. But last Wednesday, as I sat in a congressional hearing room on a rainy day in Washington, D.C., listening to whistleblowers' riveting accounts of what happened in Benghazi on the night Ambassador Chris Stevens, Sean Smith, Ty Woods, and Glenn Doherty were killed, my heart broke. Hello and welcome to Justice. I'm Judge Jeanine Pirro. Thanks for joining us tonight. I've spent my career assigning blame for wrongdoing, instructing jurors on how to assess the truth, telling them to use their common sense in deciding who's credible, who has something to gain, something to lose, who has a motive to lie, telling them if someone lies once, you're free to assume they'll lie to you again. And there is something about the truth when you hear it. You simply know it. On the night he died, Ambassador Chris Stevens called whistleblower Greg Hicks to say, "We're under attack." The statement, clear, unequivocal, and foreboding. And Hicks did everything he was supposed to, activating the emergency response plan, mobilizing a team to repel the attack, calling the State Department's Operations Center, continuously updating the Operations Center throughout the night, even chartering a plane to fly the Tripoli response team to Benghazi. At some point, Hicks realized he was being left out of all decision-making and that the order had been given to stand down. There would be no rescue. We now know the Obama administration lied to us. They misled us.